Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm your girl Teeks, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you 10 tips of how to plan your wedding. Some of my girlies do not know where to start, but in this video, I'm going to help you start today. Um, at my wedding, a lot of my wedding guests have reached out to me asking me, how did you plan such a well-executed wedding? And this video is definitely going to help you out. Now, the very first thing I typically tell people that I run into or people that ask me this question is you have to have a clear vision. How do you envision your wedding? That's the very first thing. You have to know. You have to think about that. The second thing, you want to make sure that you have sufficient time to plan that wedding. I know you see all the time where people plan their wedding in 1 month, in 6 months, but honestly, 12 to 15 months, even 18 months is a good amount of time to plan a well executed wedding. And I will explain all of that in another video, why it's super important. But you have to have sufficient time. And a matter of fact, one of the main reasons why you want to have sufficient time to plan your wedding, is because you want some of the vendors that you want, um, well established vendors, great vendors, they're typically booked like months in advance, years in advance. And so if you're trying to rush and have a wedding, you might miss out on having a really great videographer or photographer or a DJ. So that is super important. The next thing the third tip is you have to know what date. You have to set a date. And it doesn't have to be like a super symbolic date. However, you have to make sure the date is not like around someone's birthday that is close to you, or the holidays. Like typically you might not want to do it around like on Christmas Day or Thanksgiving, or if you have children or your brothers and sisters or people that you typically celebrate. You don't want to have your wedding around their birthdays, okay? So you want to choose a date, and you also have to think about is it off season? Is it spring? Is it summer? Do you want a winter wedding? Like you have to think about those things when you are planning a date. Also, um most um most venues, Monday through, I want to say Thursday, is typically cheaper. And then on the weekend, it's a little bit more expensive. Okay. However, there are quite a number of quite a number of venue that I visited where Sunday was a little bit more cheaper to have your wedding. So you have to ask those questions when you are touring and make note of things like that. Um, and that brings me to my next point, which you have to discuss with your partner what the budget is like, okay? How much do you want to spend? And you have to really be realistic about your budget. Oftentimes, we're not realistic. It sounds like we can afford it, like when we get a number, but then things start to add up quickly. So you have to make sure. So you set a budget, if it's 5,000, if it's 10,000, if it's 500, and you have to stick to the budget, and you have to calculate every single cost. Everything adds up, not just the big things. The little things adds up as well. You have to make a guest list. My next point is a guest list. Um, and you have to make sure you try to reason with your partner about how many people can you afford. And you also have to think about the venue in mind. Can the venue accommodate that many people? Those are questions that you'd have to ask when you're touring as well. And you want to make sure that you give your partner like an equal number. So, for example, if you want to have a wedding for 200 people, you want to make sure that your partner gets around 90 to 100 people to invite, and you invite the same amount. Like you don't want to invite, I know us ladies, we have a lot of friends and we want to invite 150 and we give 50 to our partners. If they're okay with that, then there's nothing wrong with that. But you want to make sure that you guys have that conversation about who are we inviting, friends, family members. people that are close to you, not people that you haven't seen in years or talked to. Um, my fifth point is know who you will choose for your wedding party. You may have a lot of friends and they all deserve to be in your wedding party, but you can only have so many people in your wedding party. So you might want to choose those people that are closest to you. You also want to make sure that if you're not paying for like their attire or different things for the wedding, you want to make sure that you communicate that with them and make sure that the people that you're choosing, they can afford to pay for themselves for your wedding. So you want to make sure they can afford to pay for themselves, and you also want to make sure those are people that are close to you, that love you, and those are people that you can depend on if you need them. You also, ladies, we like to pick all our friends, we like to choose all our friends and family, but you have to give your partner that opportunity to choose someone that they are also close to. And then my sixth point is, will there be a theme? Do you have a color scheme in mind? Do you want all black? Do you want I've seen green, like a hunter green, purple, different colors, all white. You have to make sure that's communicated and explained. Also, you have to think about that. Do you want your guests to wear that color, or you just want that to be decorated, that part of your design and your color at your actual venue? Okay. The next thing, you want to shop around for venue. Do you want it to be at a country club? Do you want it to be on a golf course? Do you want it like at a barn, farmhouse? Where do you want it to be? Do you want it to be at a hotel, on the beach, a destination wedding? All those things you have to think about. Where do you want it to be? The next thing is, once you have chosen a venue, you want to make sure that you lock in your date as soon as possible. Once you lock in your date, then you can shop around for vendors. And you want to make sure you do your research. You want to get recommendations. You want to read reviews. Make sure those vendors they are recommended by someone. You don't want to just choose someone randomly. And a key tip of mine is, or that brings me to my last point, know your circle. Who are my talented people? You know, do I have people in my family or close friends? Because you will need different vendors. You will need a DJ, you will need a photographer, a videographer, a baker. Find out from the people in your circle what they're good at. So that will help you to save on cost. And then another thing that you want to make sure that is super, super important, that you want to include when you're planning, is you don't have to have a wedding planner, but you really do want to make sure that you have a day off coordinator. You don't want to be worried about all these things that need to be perfect or put in place the day off when you're getting married. Like, you should not be worried or thinking about any of those things. So you want to make sure you get a day off coordinator so that they can make sure everything is run smooth and you can have a great time at your wedding with your spouse. I want to go back a little bit and talk about the actual venue. When you select your venue, make sure that you have a list of all the questions you want to ask. How many people do they accommodate? Can you bring outside vendors? All those things you want to make sure that you find out, and you want to make sure that you write those things down, make note of it, so that you can review. And there's just so many things, but that is a starting point. And I will be uploading more videos that explain different parts of the wedding, just to help your day to go a little bit smoother and to make your planning process smoother. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to my channel for more wedding information. Bye.